coach of the Colorado Buffaloes, primetime Deion Sanders says, "Give me my theme music." On this week's edition of Carving Up the Context, boy, oh boy, Napheesa Collier, superstar player for the Minnesota Lynx. And I want to say that on the front end just so that for those that may not be WNBA fans, you're missing out, by the way. Last night's Game 5 between the Aces and Fever was unbelievable. And I've talked about the WNBA playoffs over the last month. It's been fantastic. But just for a point of context on who Napheesa Collier is, can we show her numbers in 2025? Because she was quite simply phenomenal. She was in the MVP race for a while until the best player in the sport, Asia Wilson, went off. But 22 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists, a steal and a half a game, block and a half per game, and then shot 50, 40, 90, which we know is the benchmark for efficiency in basketball. There's no question about it. 50% from the field, 40 from 3, 90% from the free throw line. I say all of that to say this. She suffered a pretty devastating ankle injury in their Game 3 loss, in the Lynx Game 3 loss to the Phoenix Mercury. The Mercury ended up winning the series, advancing to the finals. Are going to take on the Aces. Series starts on Friday. It's going to be great. And after Game 4, so she knew her season was over. Ramona Shelburne was actually talking about this on ESPN earlier. She was saying, Collier knew her season was done. It was a 6-week recovery. Obviously wouldn't have been able to go out there for the finals had the Minnesota Lynx made it. And she talked to the media after the Game 4, or in her exit interview, rather, with as much unprecedented candor as I've ever seen from an athlete in my life, talking about a sitting commissioner. We're going to play two parts of this. Here's the first part, one that's gotten all the buzz from Napheesa Collier. Here you go.
At Unrivaled this past February, I sat across from Cathy and asked how she planned to address the officiating issues in our league. Her response was, well, only the losers complain about the refs. I also asked how she planned to fix the fact that players like Caitlin, Angel, and Paige, who are clearly driving massive revenue for the league, are making so little for their first 4 years. Her response was, Caitlin should be grateful she makes $16 million off the court, because without the platform that the WNBA gives her, she wouldn't make anything. And in that same conversation, she told me players should be on their knees thanking their lucky stars for the media rights deal that I got them. That's a mentality driving our league from the top. We go to battle every day to protect a shield that doesn't value us. The league believes it succeeds despite its players, not because of them.
Okay, and then this is what she said. Again, just that the knife is really cutting here. Talk about Cathy Engelbert, the commissioner of the WNBA. Here's the second part about what Napheesa Collier said, and you're going to want to listen to every single second of this.
This year alone, I've gotten calls, texts, and well wishes from so many players across the league. Those moments remind me that sometimes there are things bigger than the results than this game we play. But do you know who I haven't heard from? Cathy. Not one call, not one text. Instead, the only outreach has come from her number 2 telling my agent that she doesn't believe physical play is contributing to injuries. That is infuriating, and it's the perfect example of the tone-deaf, dismissive approach that our leaders always seem to take. I've finally grown tired. For too long, I have tried to have these conversations in private, but it's clear there is no intention of accepting there's a problem. The league has made it clear it isn't about innovation, it isn't about collaboration, it's about control and power. I've earned this platform and I've paid the price to get here, and now I have a responsibility to speak on behalf of the fans and everyone in this league that deserves better. I'm concerned about the future of our sport. At some point, everyone deserves to hear the truth from someone who I hope has earned the benefit of the doubt to fight for what is right and fair for our athletes and our fans. We have the best players in the world. We have the best fans in the world. But right now, we have the worst leadership in the world. If I didn't know exactly what the job entailed, maybe I wouldn't feel this way. But unfortunately for them, I do. We serve a league that has shown they think championship coaches and Hall of Fame players are dispensable, and that's fine. It's professional sports. But I will not stand quietly by and allow different standards to be applied at the league level. Thank you.
Now, Cathy Engelbert came out with a statement the day after these comments. She said, and I quote, "I have the utmost respect for Napheesa Collier and for all of the players in the WNBA. Together, we have all worked tirelessly to transform this league. My focus remains on ensuring a bright future for the players and the WNBA, including collaborating on how we continue to elevate the game. I'm disheartened by how Napheesa characterized our conversations and league leadership, but even when our perspectives differ, my commitment to the players and to this work will not waver. End quote. So there's a lot to unpack from this. So Napheesa Collier, and what was really interesting to see is, okay, how much support is she going to get from other players around the league? Because it was going to be one of two options. Either it was going to be full-throated support of Collier, who, by the way, is the vice president of the Players Union, so she holds a lot of power, no question about it. She is one of the most influential voices in the league. Or on the other side, it was going to be certainly not condemnation, because a player's not going to go after a player on a statement like that, but it would have been radio silence. Asia Wilson has supported her. Nneka Nwumike has supported her. Even former players like Alina Deladon, who, by the way, I met when I was in Disney World. Very, very nice. Shout out to Alina Deladon. Came out in support of Napheesa Collier. So it has been, shout out to her. She came out and supported us. And these are the kind of conversations that we've heard as well. Napheesa was just the only one bold enough to step out, put her neck on the line, so to speak, and talk about it. And what I find really interesting, and because she mentions that the Commissioner Cathy Engelbert was discussing Caitlin Clark, who we all know was the vehicle to get a lot of folks to watch the WNBA. Listen, I've been talking about the league for years. Respect Caitlin Clark. Y'all know I'm a huge fan of hers. Love how she plays the game. Love her trash talk, all of it. But I've supported the WNBA and watched the league for years, really since I've become a basketball fan. And what I think is remarkable, Cathy Engelbert, according to Napheesa Collier, appears to view the WNBA through the prism of the way that the NFL and college football is viewed. What I mean by that is this. When you think NFL, you think of a bunch of players. You think of, it's just in the current times, you think of Patrick Mahomes, Myles Garrett, Saquon Barkley. I mean, we can just go all the way down the list. And like the big brands, quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys, Dak Prescott. You think about Josh Allen, Justin Jefferson, go down the list. But in the NFL, it's kind of an unspoken rule, fair or unfair. The shield is kind of, you protect the shield. That is untouchable to a certain degree. And in college football, even more so, because guys aren't there forever. They're I mean, I guess with the COVID rules as of late, they can stay there 6-7 years in some cases, in the case of Diego Pavia, but they're there a certain amount of time. The coaches are more popular than the players. The brands, I mean, think about the Florida Gators, for example. Shout out to my man, Tim Barner, who's a Gators fan. But they've got a terrible head coach right now in Billy Napier. Gators are still a massive brand. Like, it's hard to tarnish a great brand in college football. Same in the NFL. I mean, Jerry's run the Cowboys into the ground for 30 years. Still the most popular brand in the world. The NBA, Major League Baseball, the PGA, the WNBA, the NHL, go down the list. College basketball, they do not have that luxury. They are star-driven leagues. Really, since Major League Baseball not became more international, because it's always been international, but since Shohei Ohtani and Aaron Judge, these big, booming, big personality stars have kind of taken over the sport, the league has grown, and with some good rule changes. In the NBA, who are still the biggest stars in the league? Steph Curry, LeBron James. Watch, look at the ratings every year. Steph, LeBron, those are the highest few games of the regular season. Anthony Edwards is great. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is great. Jokic, but two of those three kind of nonverbal. They don't talk a lot. They don't have the brands that Steph and LeBron do. They don't have the built-in fan equity that those guys do. The PGA, remember when the PGA was panicking when Live Golf, and we can talk about the morality of it and the Saudi money, all of it. I've talked about that in my show constantly, but this whole, the PGA, they're nervous about some of these guys going to Live Golf because they are a star-driven sport. The WNBA is the exact same way. And the Caitlin Clark thing. Oh, Caitlin Clark, she should be thanking her lucky stars for the WNBA. Otherwise, she'd be virtually irrelevant. That's essentially what Cathy Engelbert is saying, according to Napheesa Collier. Well, that's funny. Thanks to NIL, shout out NIL, Caitlin Clark, before she played a dribble of WNBA basketball, she had NIL deals with the following. Nike, let's see if you've heard of any of these brands. Nike, Gatorade, Bose, Buick, H&R Block, Topps, just to name a few. That's not all of them. Angel Reese has a number of endorsements. Paige Beckers, I'm listing those three because those have been the three primary sort of driving forces into this new wave of interest in women's basketball. Shout out to Juju Watkins, who unfortunately is out for the year. Knock on wood for her. Obviously, she had the ACL injury this past March, but she's kind of going to be joining that group as well. The reason I mentioned those three names is because before those three ever played the first dribble of WNBA basketball, here's some of the games that they played in. See if you're impressed by some of these ratings. We can go and put that up here. Notable NCAA tournament games that featured Caitlin, Angel, and Paige. 2023 Natty, which we all remember that one. LSU, Iowa, 9.9 million views. The rematch in 2024 Sweet 16, 12.3 million views. So that was the Caitlin versus Angel matchup. And then you get Paige versus Caitlin, 14.2 million in the Final Four a year ago. And in the national championship, obviously got Caitlin and Iowa versus the great Dawn Staley South Carolina Gamecocks, 18.7 million viewers. Most watched college basketball game in the history of ESPN. And even in last year's Natty, you had Paige, 8.5 million viewers for that national championship. That was the third most watched Natty of all time. Keep in mind, Caitlin, who we know is kind of the face of this, respect to Angel and Paige, who are ballers in their own right, but Caitlin Clark was offered, I believe, $1 million by Ice Cube to join the Big Three League, to try and lure her to the WNBA. And Caitlin, to her credit, she did not have to do this, folks. She's like, you know what? For the women that have paved the way for this league to be where it's at today, I feel I have an obligation to continue that legacy and to continue to grow the WNBA, because respect to the Big Three, but the WNBA has a more traditional build of a sports league than the Big Three has. I have an obligation to grow it. Cathy Engelbert does not appear to have the same stance. And what I find super interesting, this is a commissioner who obviously does not know where her bread is buttered. I mean, this season, ESPN reported this. ESPN averaged 1.3 million viewers for WNBA games on their network. That's the most ever. And it's funny. I was going to use this number for a future segment, and I still may, because I was actually planning, just a quick story, for the last few weeks, because I had seen that the WNBA ratings were off the charts in the regular season by conventional standards, despite the fact that Caitlin Clark had barely played at all this season. And my take was going to be, and sorry, this is a bit of a spoiler for your future segment, but is that Caitlin was the main event, so to speak. Caitlin was the reason a lot of people started watching, because the way she plays, shoots the basketball, passes, the emotion, trash talk, all of it. But then people show up to the party and like, oh, this is kind of fun. It's like when your best friend who you've been tight with brings you to the block party. It's like, oh, this person's nice. Oh, I like this guy. This girl's fun to hang around. That's how people felt watching the WNBA. Again, look no further than last night. Again, if you missed, I get it was late for some people on the East Coast, but if you miss Aces Fever Game 5, oh my gosh, outstanding game. And the playoffs has been like that all season long. The league has been like that for years. Great basketball, elite shot making, all of it. And the fans are responding. The ratings would show you that. And the fans are also telling you, yeah, Caitlin and Angel are not the two best players in the WNBA. That would probably be Asia and Napheesa Collier are the two best players in the WNBA. But they're the biggest stars, and we're going to go in their direction. How do I know that? Well, I obviously showed you the ratings when they played in college, but when they played earlier this year, opening day in the WNBA, 2.7 million people tuned in to watch the game. That is the most watched WNBA game in regular season history. I'd make the case, and I think it's apparent to all of us, Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, Paige Beckers, they don't need the WNBA. It helps, and it does, but they can go play, as Napheesa Collier pointed out, herself and Brianna Stewart, the superstar MVP and champion of the New York Liberty, started their own Big Three league, 3-on-3 tournament league for the summer, so that players don't have to be in the same situation that Brittany Griner was in, and multiple other players have been in, but Brittany Griner's most notably because she was arrested and having to go to freaking communist Russia to play basketball because the league doesn't pay him enough. So Napheesa Collier, Brianna Stewart are taking matters in their own hands. We'll create our own league. Paige Beckers is going to compete. Some big-name WNBA players are going to compete in this. They can just run with that. They're going to have the financial backing of NBA players for that league. And given the fact that, by the way, WNBA CBA collective bargaining agreement expires this month, October 31st. Cathy Engelbert, the commissioner of the WNBA, should be no more as the commissioner of this particular league in this new CBA. I know some folks have said, it's not the greatest look if it's a pressure by the WNBA's players and a commissioner's removed in short order. I get that. But something this flagrant, someone that the primary objective, I've said this for years on the show. It's why I've always said Goodell gets more crap than he deserves. The primary objective of a sports league commissioner, grow the league, make it more popular. Cathy Engelbert appears to believe it's her. It's that WNBA shield that's doing that, not the superstars. Again, forget the superstars that have been dominating the league for a while, such as A'ja Wilson and Napheesa Collier and Breanna Stewart, Brittany Griner, and Sabrina Ionescu. But this new wave of talent, game-changing. Clark, Reese, Beckers. You saw the ratings. I just showed them to you. Changed everything. They don't need you. You see what they're getting paid? They don't need you. Especially with NIL money, endorsement deals out the wazoo, a new 3-on-3 tournament league that was founded by two of the best players in the WNBA, Breanna Stewart and Napheesa Collier, who you obviously heard making those comments earlier. If this particular commissioner does not understand where her bread is buttered, does not understand the basic business model of every single American professional league outside of the NFL, and this is a professional league, but college football, these are star-driven leagues. The NBA, baseball, hockey, WNBA, PGA, they are star-driven sports. Golf was dead before Tiger Woods. The NBA was dead before Magic and Bird. The WNBA, for all of its star power, was not in a very good place. And so Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, and now Paige Beckers, and in the future, Juju Watkins. Understand where you're at, Commissioner Engelbert. Understand what's gotten you to this point. We're 1.3 million viewers per game, with Caitlin Clark injured for the majority of the season. Understand why that's the case. Because they drove him here. Because Caitlin, Angel, Paige, they drove the viewers to watch the WNBA. So on this week's edition of Carving Out the Context, when I saw this yesterday, I was floored, utterly stunned by this unbelievable lack of self-awareness on the part of the commissioner of the WNBA, who should not be for much longer because she should resign, Cathy Engelbert. So listen, shout out to Napheesa Collier for coming out and just going scorched earth. Just unbelievable stuff. Kudos to one of the best players in the WNBA for getting the job done. Thanks so much for watching the show on YouTube, and be sure to go click that big red subscribe button and check out the other clips and full shows from Carving It Up Live, as well as our other incredible content creators here on the Grid Network.